Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, everyone? Just want to get everything set up here. Hope everyone can see me okay and hear me okay as well. I'm using a laptop, so I don't have my microphone and stuff. So hopefully you can hear me okay. It's not a very nice view right now, I acknowledge. It's the back of my hotel room. It's not quite the Hawaii we were hoping to see, but I'll probably pan out in a little bit and give you guys a view of what I'm seeing from my hotel room. I just wanted to go live for a little bit today. I had some time during my vacation to follow up with everyone and see how everyone's doing with everything that's been going on in the community recently with the exchange listings, the news that we received for the most recent AMA with Reese, as well as a couple other things that are going on. So figured I'll go live for a little bit and see how everyone's doing. So shout out Ivan, good to see you. B, good to see you. Tao, I definitely got a little bit of a suntan. I don't really tan, I just burn. So that's really why you're not seeing too much right now. I just burn. I don't know if you guys can see the back of my neck very easily. It doesn't really show, but definitely a lot of aloe gel needed. I'm not, as a Canadian, I'm not built for these weather conditions. So thanks for stopping by. VeVe Las Vegas, what's going on? Srinath, my trip to Hawaii is 10 days. So I've been here for, I guess this is day 6 now. And we'll still have 4 days after today when we're down here. We're in Waikiki right now, so on Honolulu, and then we're going to go check out one of the other islands for the last 3 or 4 days. So it's going to be nice to do that. But I figured, like I said, I'd just check in with everyone, see how everyone's been doing. I've been doing my best to creep in the background to see what everyone's been up to in the community. So I just wanted to follow up on some things that I've seen people have been talking about. Dan, thank you so much. I will be enjoying my vacation, but a part of enjoying my vacation is hanging out with the fam. So I haven't actually had a chance to meet up with anyone IRL. A lot of people seem to have lived here previously, but don't live here anymore. There was 1 or 2 people that I was hoping to meet up with, but they were on business trips, so they were busy. So we might end up meeting up at some point, but no meetups as of yet, which is disappointing. I brought my VeVe shirts. I was ready to rock everything, but haven't had a chance to make it out yet. Financial use and views. What's going on, man? Super duper anxious. Make it quick, Foster. Yeah. I won't be live for 3 or 4 hours today. That's for sure. I figured I'd just check in for half an hour to an hour or something and see how everyone was doing. See how everyone's feeling about some of the catalysts that have come to the community the last little while. We're seeing a little bit of a bounce back in the markets recently, so wanted to see how people were feeling about that, and then I'll definitely venture my way back out into the sun and get a little bit more burn. So that'll happen. Wait, yeah. Sun is not fun for fair-skinned people sometimes. I hear that. Rip curls, yeah, that's not a pleasant sight. I don't think anyone wants to see that. I thought about doing this on the beach, but the Wi-Fi connection here is well, there's obviously no Wi-Fi on the beach, but the connection here is pretty spotty. So I was a little worried that it was going to cut out and that you guys wouldn't be able to hear me. And I actually wasn't going to do a live today. I had started pre-recording just like a quick short that I was going to put out. And when I was halfway through my short, some lady came up and just like started talking to me out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, I can't sit down anywhere outside of my hotel room and talk about VeVe apparently without people harassing me. So I figured I'd come back to the room, get a little bit of a better connection, and go back from there. Yeah, Dan, no, the market dips. I try not to stress about those things. Look at it as a buying opportunity, go on a trip and spend some money somewhere outside of VeVe for the first time in a little while, which has been definitely nice. But it definitely does feel like a little bit of timing. And that's one of the things that I did want to address in this live with people, gauge market sentiment with everyone. It seems like a lot of the more blue chip items, as well as the entire market, really is recovering quite nicely. We're seeing pump ups with a lot of the golden moments. We're seeing some recoveries in Walt specifically, which was down all the way at about 21K. And it's making its way back up to 26K. We saw R2D2 up over 20%. It's been pumping a little bit recently. And yeah, a lot of things seem to be doing pretty well right now, which is nice to see. I mean, obviously, I think we've experienced a little bit of negative market sentiment the last few weeks, so it has been nice to see that kind of recovery happening. B says you're coming in and out on my end, but it's not horrible. Yeah. So funny thing, like I contacted the front desk. I was like, hey, I need to upgrade my Wi-Fi to get like better Wi-Fi for you guys. And I was planning on going live an hour ago. I spent an hour trying to figure out the Wi-Fi situation, and I was like, you know what, like I'm just going to do it. And if it's terrible, then we'll call it. But I wasn't prepared to dedicate any more of my day to try and figure out the Wi-Fi issues. So we'll take what we can get. Gail, no, I did not bring a Todd with me. I feel like security would have had a heyday with it. It's got a lot of pointy parts on it, and I feel like they would have flagged me and sent me in for all of the strip searches. So I opted to leave it at home. So Rip Curl says market morale and sentiment are at all-time lows. Yeah, I agree with that to an extent. I think it is recovering over the last couple of days. I think we have seen somewhat of a push towards recovery with a lot of the pieces like I've illustrated. But at the same time, yeah, it does feel like the sentiment in the community overall is not super hot. And I think that that's part of the reason that I wanted to take a little bit of time out of my vacation just to check in with people and see how everyone's doing. And I mean, obviously, it's pretty easy to be relaxed when I'm in the conditions that I'm in. But when you're living the day in, day out, and you're still checking on those prices every single day and not seeing the numbers that you'd like to see, it's understandable why you may feel a little bit stressed out, but I'm not particularly concerned about the token or the collectibles at this point. To me, especially with the collectibles, this is just regular market feedback and sentiment. You know, we go through these cycles. We've been there before, and we'll be there again once we see a recovery. We've seen it time and time again for the year that I've been in the project, and you know, you see a pump and then you see a correction, and then you see a pump, you see another correction. At the end of the day, the money is still trapped on the app. So unless you're selling off app, that money's still there available for people. And, you know, as the market sentiment shifts, people will allocate some of those funds into the collectibles that they are seeing. I am glad to see we're not seeing too many crazy drops right now. I think we needed a little bit of a break after Black Panther and the 007 drop. So it has been nice to get a little bit of a breath of fresh air on that. And I think that that has allowed people to start to load up again on collectibles that they may have let go of, waiting for some other drops. You know, we will see another Givenchy drop coming up at some point in the month of March, and I do anticipate that may take a little bit of liquidity out of the market. But for the most part, you know, when we're just seeing the comic books and stuff, it's not pulling too much out, which is good. So, VeVe Las Vegas, I haven't golfed yet. I would like to go golfing. They actually have a golf course that's about an 8-minute walk from the hotel. But I've been trying to do a lot of things that you don't necessarily get to do in Canada. Now, mind you, it is the winter, so I haven't had a chance to go golfing recently either. But I do golf a lot, so it has been nice to kind of just do some other stuff, go down to the beach and check out some of the sites. I've gone on a couple hikes, and I'll probably share photos of that on social media at some point. But that's been a lot of fun. The wife and I have been trying a lot of different food places and meeting a lot of locals and just trying some off the beat path stuff that you wouldn't see regularly. So that's been good. Jim Farno, good to see you. Wade's his thoughts on the executive order. I'm assuming that's in reference to the executive order that Joe Biden put out in the US for crypto regulations. I know Andre Jick did do a video on it. I'll be honest, my Wi-Fi has been so terrible. I haven't really been watching any content, so I haven't even seen his video on what he put out on it yet. But from my understanding, the sentiment, at least from the market, is fairly positive. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we'd be pretty naive to believe that crypto is never going to become regulated. We see so many instances all the time of just the Wild West with so many issues happening with a lot of projects, specifically in the NFT space, which I think gives us you know, a pretty negative rep overall, unless you do a lot of research on VeVe and understand the project. So I don't think regulation is necessarily a bad thing. I think if anything, it gives the cryptocurrency space more credibility, because when something is regulated, investors will feel generally anyways more confident in putting their funds into it because they know that they're not just going to disappear on them. So overall, I'm not too concerned about any regulations coming in right now, but I'll have to read up on them more before I can make a confident statement on it one way or another. B says VeVe's team should stop giving release dates on things. I personally don't mind waiting, but a bunch of people are acting like their life savings are trapped in the app. For sure. To be fair, a lot of people's life savings are trapped in the app. So a lot of people invest a lot of money, probably more than they could afford to lose. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and judge how people allocate their funds and make financial decisions, but it is understandable why people get stressed out when they don't feel as though they have access to those funds. So I do understand that perspective. And I do feel for those individuals, it can be pretty stressful when you have money allocated and you don't have access to it. I know even for me, like obviously with the market correction, I think my portfolio took a dip of about $100,000, which I mean is more money than I'll make working in, a couple years. So it's been pretty hectic to see the fluctuations, but I still remember the fact that my portfolio is still up from the month of December when I invested. So there's definitely a small portion of the market that has been affected. Obviously, we did have a lot of people on board through the VeVe golden moments and into the new year that they may be down on their investment. I know it's easy to sit here as someone who's been in the project for a year and is up a pretty significant portion to say, oh well, it's fine, just wait it out. But if you invested more money than you could afford to lose, and now you're down in your investment and you're looking to cash out, and there's no option available to you there, I can understand why people would be stressed out. The only comfort I guess I could offer those individuals is that we have been there before. You understood what you were investing in when you invested in the project, or at least hopefully you did, and understand that it's going to continue to be more successful as we onboard more users and they add in more utility for the NFTs and for the project. It's only going to continue to be stronger and better. So I find honestly the best thing to do is to almost disconnect. Like if you're stressed out and you're watching the numbers go down, but you still believe in the project outlook long term, just don't check the price action every single day. Like there's no reason to stress out about it every single day. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like markets can't go up forever, and I think that that's something that people don't necessarily realize. And I was going to put out a tweet about that earlier today. It can be difficult sometimes. And I find it funny. And I was going to put a tweet out about it, like I said, but people always say, well, it's super easy for someone that's an OG, so someone that's been in the project for a while. It's super easy for you to, be up a bunch of money and tell everyone that it's going to be okay, but like you've made a bunch of money, so you don't know. You're out of touch with reality is essentially the argument that I hear a lot of times. And I just want to give people some perspective. And if you don't agree with it, it's okay, but it's just meant to kind of challenge the thinking. When I invested in the project in April of 2021, the OMI token was at about 0.0073, so almost double what it is now. And I bought and DCA'd up all the way to almost a penny. And then I saw my investment go down 80%, and I was down tens of thousands of dollars. So, I invested all the way up to a penny, and I was here on the day in June when our token was worth 0.0011. So I know what it's like to be down, $70,000, $80,000 and how stressful that can be. So for those of you that are stressed out right now because you may be down on your money, I hear you. I've been there, and I can truly say as someone who has been there, the grass will be greener on the other side. Give it the time. And, I had to take a step away from it for a little bit as well. I had faith in the research that I'd done in the project and believed in the team. But at the same time, it is troubling when you see an investment that you've made and you have a lot of confidence in not doing what you would expect it to do. So it's definitely easy to get down on yourself and see the negative market sentiment and, see a lot of people on social media who are being negative because their investments are down. But just remember that, similarly to how Todd went, or Superman went from $600 to $200 last year, that's the same correction that Rizzo did from 25 down to 10, percentage-wise. Now, money-wise, it's a lot less, but percentage-wise, it's the exact same correction, right? So we're just playing with bigger numbers now. Now, you might not be someone that invested in a Rizzo, so that might not be the issue. But it's just important to understand that these markets are cyclical. We will see these ebbs and flows, and we're currently in the ebb. We're in the down right now, and I'm really looking at it as a buying opportunity. I took advantage and purchased another Volt while the prices were down pretty significantly. I bought another Todd. I bought a couple of Grails when I could get my hands on them. Now, understandably so, some of you may not have access to the liquidity to buy collectibles in that price range, but that's totally okay. Something like Harley Quinn number 19, the Bruce Timm, was down at $400 off of an all-time high of $1,600. Jim Lee Joker was down at $600 off of an all-time high of like $2,500. So there are these opportunities available in the market that you can take advantage of if you understand what you are looking for. And it's, depending what your price level is and what price point you're at. I mean, we saw Spider-Man Secret Rare go up to 100,000 and it went all the way down to 40,000. So maybe that's within your price range as well. So I think it's just important to understand that. Either look at it as a buying opportunity or take a step, delete the app for a little bit, and then come back and download it in a couple of weeks. At the end of the day, you can't cash out right now anyway, so your money's not going anywhere one way or another. But if you believe in the long-term value proposition of the project, there's really not anything that you need to worry about. Like I said, my portfolio, it was nice to see it at over $250,000. And it sucks to see it at the number that it's at now, but I'm still up on my investment in the year, and I've made a lot more money in 1 year than I would in 10 years in the stock market, depending on the amount of money that I invested with the same amount. So I think it's important just to have that perspective. So if you're worried, I get it. But once again, when I talk to you guys and I'm feeling confident, there's a reason for it, and it's because I've experienced the same things you guys are experiencing now, and I'm just not as worried because I'm a little more seasoned on it. But I agree that the team probably shouldn't be giving out dates and things like that, and I feel like they have gotten a little bit better on that. But at the end of the day, it is a good point. Justin says I sold everything. Just kidding. Yeah, guys. Now, like I said, you're better to delete the app and come back in a month or two. Selling things at the low end of the price points that we're seeing right now is probably not the best idea. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your money. You do what you want to do with it, but that's a yikes from me. I don't know that I would do that. Booyah says, "What's up, Foster? First time watcher. I was rude to you on Twitter once, and you handled it wonderfully. Here to show some love, mate." Thank you, Booyah. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I don't always agree with people on social media. People don't always agree with me, and that's totally okay. But I think for the most part, I always try and show someone or anyone that I'm interacting with, as much respect as I can, even if people aren't necessarily being the most respectful with me. But I mean, it's understandable. Investing can get pretty emotional when you have money involved in a situation. And so yeah, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you, brother. A Dad's Life Show says it's all about patience. The whole market is down. Got to have that long-term conviction. Exactly. And that's why, coming into this project, even when I started social media back in kind of August of last year, I always told people, like, I'm investing in this for 3 to 5 years. And could I have made more money investing in other projects in the short term? Yeah, I definitely probably could have. But for me, I understood this project and I understood the value proposition of it. And I didn't mind waiting. I didn't want to have to research a bunch of other different projects and try and understand them and, hope that other people invested in it so that my bag went up. Like, I understand the value proposition in Omi and the VeVe collectibles. So for me, it's just easier to just park my funds and kind of just enjoy the journey rather than just focusing on the destination. And I think that that's, something that I think a lot of us do a little bit too much is we focus on the $1 Omi or whatever the case may be, and we're not living in the moment. And I think, we're going to look back in a couple of years when we hit some of these targets that we're looking to hit, and we'll realize that, we could have taken full advantage of it and really been a part of the community and interacted with people and built relationships. And that's why, even though I'm on vacation right now in Hawaii, I wanted to check in with everyone because I do genuinely love the community. And it just seemed like a good opportunity. I had some downtime, and this is something that I enjoy doing in my downtime, is interacting with the community, interacting with all of you. So, I understand why some people may feel a little negative about the project right now, just with the prices. But if I can do, my part, take a little bit of time out of my day to assure everyone, at least in my viewpoint, that everything's going to be okay, then I'm more than happy to do that. So, John M says, do you think physical collectibles will be a bigger deal down the road with VeVe? 100% I do. And Dan Shawbell, who's in the chat right now, he's a champion for promoting physical collectibles with digital pairings. I believe that they're going to be a lot more valuable, which is part of the reason that I bought 12 first edition Todd McFarlane Batman physicals, because I believe that as they become more popular on VeVe and VeVe onboards so many new users, a lot of them are going to turn to the physical to either get pairings or just because they're going to fall in love with collecting. I was never a physical collector before I started with VeVe, and since I started on VeVe, I've spent several $1,000s on physical collectibles. So I can't imagine I'm the only one that feels that way, and if I am, maybe I'm just completely crazy. But no, I have faith that physical collectibles will do quite well. I actually bought my first comic book. I got a Batman 423 coming to my house right now. I might already be there, I'm not sure, but I went out and bought a first edition of that because I wanted to have a physical Todd as well as the Todd comic, and I have the blue Todd. So I really wanted to complete that kind of trinity, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Omi Queen, good to see you as always. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the support. Wade says, do you think Bitmart Exchange announcement was timed ahead of time or knee-jerk? I don't think VeVe does a lot of things knee-jerk, to be honest with you. I think one of the complaints is that they don't do things quickly enough. I don't think very many things are done as a knee-jerk reaction. I think it makes sense. From my understanding, Bitmart was an exchange that was actually supposed to be announced in May of last year. And because the token was GoChain and was not Ethereum backed, the exchange could not list the token, which is what we've been waiting for. And I think I've touched on this a couple times in my videos, but we've been waiting to become an ERC20 backed token so we could start to see these exchange listings. And I did say with confidence that once we saw the Ethereum backed listings, we would start to see the exchanges listing the token. And of course, we've already seen that with the listing with Bitmart. And I do anticipate, Reese has already said 4 to 5 exchanges this year. I think I would be very surprised. You know, historically there's been delays, but the delays, like I said, were specific to the network that we were listed on. Now that we're listed on ERC, I would be fairly surprised to see any delays on the exchange front. I do anticipate we'll see some bigger exchanges coming up over the next quarter or so, and I do anticipate we'll see at least a Coinbase or a Binance coming. I would go so far as to say I would be surprised if we didn't see that. So looking forward to those. Booyah says Black Panther. Yeah, Black Panther's been doing well. I think last time I saw the secret rare was up to about 1.8K, and it had dropped down to 1.2 or 1.3. So it's definitely seen a reaction to that. So Dan Chabel, the wizard for the coin wizard, thank you, man. Justin B says this has been a great time to shop. Sniped a mint number 130 ultra rare animated Spider-Man last night from the floor. Crazy. That's incredible, man. Good for you. I'm glad you're taking advantage of that opportunity. I think a lot of people don't understand, and I get into it on social media all the time with people. You know, people will sell items off app, and they'll say the app is dying because people are selling things off app. But you know, what people forget at the end of the day is you know, people have reasons for taking profit and needing liquidity for real life events that come in. And if you sell something, there was a buyer for it, right? So just because someone's selling something does not mean that the app is dying, or just because someone's selling a ton of things doesn't mean that the app is dying. It just means that they had to sell, and their loss is your gain, because if you can get a good deal on it and you understand the value proposition of that item, then you know that you're getting a good deal on it. So that's mostly how I look at that. But that's an awesome pickup, Justin. Good for you. B says, I need a Todd in my life. That's my next goal. Physical or digital? I think both of them are great pickups. But if you're able to get especially the digital, you know, it had a high of almost 14K, and it's less than half of that right now. So if you're able to take advantage of that, I think before we see our next pump, that would definitely be a good opportunity. Dan says, I want Foster as my lawyer and therapist. Not financial advice and not legal advice. So I'm not any of those things, but you know, if I can take some time to help people out and explain kind of my perspective on the project and things that are going on, and make you maybe feel a little bit better on the outlook of the project, then you know, I'm more than happy to do so. Booyah says, I've been bearish, but I think we're going to see a huge run up. The supplies paper thing. Yeah, and that's something, you know, I put out a tweet earlier today, and I referenced Nightwing, and I did put out a follow-up, but just full disclosure, I do own a Nightwing. I'm not planning on selling the Nightwing. I was just using it as an example. Nightwing was down at 1.7K with an all-time high of over 4,000. And with 48,000 gems, so less than what you could pick up a Walt for at its all-time high, you could take the floor from 1.7K all the way up to 3.5K with buying Nightwings. And you'd be able to buy like 20 of them. Like you'd just be able to absolutely sweep the floor with them with not a lot of liquidity. And there's tons of collectibles like that where you can very quickly sweep the floor. I think R2 is another one. I think R2 has like 6 or 7 listings and it jumps $2,000. I think some of the other Disney Golden Moments are fairly similar as well. You know, the partner statue is very similar. It was down at 21K. It's up at 26K, and there's only like 4 or 5 listings all the way up to 30K. So we're seeing very thin floors, much thinner than the last bull cycle that we hit back at the beginning of January. So I do anticipate that when we pump, when we have a catalyst that supports the pumping of these collectibles, we're going to see a pretty incredible run up. So I am very much looking forward to that. And that's also why I'm not selling any of my collectibles at these prices. I will say that unlike last time when I diamond handed everything, when we had that run up, I may elect to take some profit when we see the next run up. So obviously being able to pick up a Walt, I think I picked up at, I think it was 24,000 gems, knowing that was half of its all-time high. If we hit its all-time high again, maybe I would sell one just to gain some more liquidity and cover that initial investment. But don't hold me to it. I'm not entirely sure, but it is definitely something to consider. So Nick G says, wish we were able to do something with our NFTs. The only functionality is buying and selling. When the fees were announced for cashing out, I started to lose interest. I mean, definitely not a ton of utility for the collectibles. You can view them in augmented reality and take pictures with them, which is a lot more than can be said for a lot of the projects that you see on OpenSea. But I do get what you're saying. You know, I'm very much looking forward to getting some announcements regarding the VeVeeverse and hopefully getting some information on that at some point in the next quarter or so. It would be nice to start to see some more utility, obviously with the Master Collector program as well, to see you know, renting as a form of utility and some of the other things that we're going to be able to do with these collectibles. Find out a little bit about gamification, find out about some of these partnerships that may or may not be happening, Pico Royale, and you know, some of these other companies that have rumored to have partnerships with VeVe and Ecomi. It's going to be a very interesting year, and I think that foundationally there was a lot of things that they had to get organized before they were able to really roll things out. And I think MTL was obviously a really big one, and we've seen a lot of delays with it. I think once they get that out of the way and we see some of those exchange listings that are probably lined up at this point, I think we'll start to see the focus transition more so over to some of the utility for those NFTs. I will say with the MTL, and we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but it's definitely very expensive to use the MTL in order to cash out. I personally will not be using it. I think it's great that we will have it as an option because people will be able to take profit, and I think that is important for any project. But at the same time, 10% is obviously pretty expensive. And even though, you know, I'm in the green, and you know, I don't want to take away from the profit that I could be making by using that. So I'm very excited, you know, for Omi to NFT. I think when that happens, that'll be a huge push for the project. So when that happens, that is likely how I'll be taking profit when that actually happens. So you know, if you're losing interest, there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a break. Similarly to what I mentioned earlier with prices being down. You know, if you're, you know, not super interested in anything that's being offered right now, delete the app off of your phone, set a reminder on a calendar somewhere for a couple of months from now, download it again and kind of see what your NFTs are doing at that point, see if there's been utility added or not. At the end of the day, you've already invested in the project, so you may as well stay invested and see what can happen with it. So Matthew says, hopefully that hotel has an iron and an ironing board. Yeah, I stuffed everything in the suitcase on the way here, and I've worn the black VeVe shirt already, but the white VeVe shirt I have not worn, and it has taken a little bit of a beating. So we'll break out the iron before I put it on for sure. But I just wanted to put something in the background. They did have a picture there, but I figured I'd throw the shirts in the background to let you guys know that I've been doing it. So Nick G says the drops are like 99% comics, which isn't bringing in new users in my opinion. They also need to speed up these updates. Yeah, honestly, I think comics are a good thing right now. I think the market needed a little bit of a breather, and this is where the balance comes from. Is, you know, you say that they're only doing comics, but at the time, people will complain that they're doing too many drops, so then they'll stop doing drops, and people will complain that the only drops that they're doing are comics. So I don't think they can really win. I mean, some people have asked that they stop doing drops entirely until they address the bot situation. So, like, would you rather them do absolutely nothing, or rather than do some of something, or would you rather them put out so much content that you don't even know what to purchase? There's really no winning at this point. I think it just makes sense for them to continue to stick to their business model with what they've been doing, and then go from there. But yeah, I do hope that some of these updates that are, you know, supposed to be coming out will come out soon. Cameron says, dude, I'm the guy who bought the Todd. Thanks for all your help. Awesome, man. Congratulations. I'm glad I was able to help you out with that. That's awesome, man. Good for you. Bobby says, Foster, do you know your Todd physical mint numbers? No, I don't know yet. I will be doing probably a live unboxing stream when I get back to my home after my vacation. I think that would be kind of fun. I only know one of them. I think it's 4,711. That's the one that I have displayed on my wall behind me in all of my YouTube videos. But all the other ones were brand new in box, so I haven't opened any of them yet. So I do not know those numbers. Dan says they aren't minting more than 7,500 Todd NFTs or 5,000 Todd physical first editions. 100%, and that's why it's very exciting. You know, whether I think we have about 2.1 million active monthly users right now. When we're up at 10 or 20 million people, there'll still only be 7,500 digital Todds and 5,000 first edition physical Todds. And that's really exciting. And I think that's where the value proposition of the physicals come in. There's very few first edition physicals that exist for a lot of the characters that are on VeVe, and a lot of them are still undervalued and not priced what they will be in the future. So I think it's a good idea to take advantage of it if you have the ability to do so. DW says, tempted to sell my PSA 9 Shadowless Charizard and stack physical Todds. Oh my. I would ask Real Randy Travis about that. He's definitely the resident Pokemon expert. I'm not big on collecting. I don't know what the value proposition is of a PSA 9 Shadowless. I would guess that that's probably like like $10,000 to $30,000 probably. I feel like it's probably a tenth of the PSA 10, which is like 300 to 500. So, and maybe it's even more than that. So, it's definitely tempting, and I understand where you may be coming with it from. Pokemon is always going to be extremely popular, and you have to remember that if VeVe announces Pokemon, that Shadowless Charizard might go up a ton in value as a physical as well. So there are some trade-offs to it. I would definitely ask Randy and get his thoughts the next time he's live, because I'm not entirely sure. Drew says Hawaii looks lovely, giggle. Yeah, this is here. I'll show you guys my you can't really see, but the ocean is just over those buildings right there. But to stay just over in those buildings was like over twice as expensive as it was to stay here. So I don't need to see the beach. I can just walk to it. So I'm totally okay with it. But some gorgeous views here in Honolulu. We're staying on Waikiki Beach, and we've done some pretty awesome hikes. Going up to the top of Diamond Head, which was really gorgeous. I posted a picture of that the other day on my Twitter with the partner statue. That's what we were overlooking when I pointed out. We were on the top of Diamond Head. We did the pillbox hike, which was pretty incredible. That was pretty difficult, actually. So I was really happy to accomplish that. And we've done a couple other travels. We went out to Pearl Harbor, paid our respects there, and seen a couple other things as well. So it's been a really lovely trip so far. I don't do too well in the sun, so I try and not do too much midday. So right now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon local time here. So for me, this is a good time of day to do the live because I don't need to be out in the sun right now. But probably in half an hour to an hour, I'll go grab some lunch and see what the day has for us. So I'm pretty excited for that. A couple of people talking about how thin the floor is. Tamara says, I was able to get a Todd off app for half the floor. Never thought I would have a Todd. Very bullish on both VeVe and Omi. Yeah, for sure. You know what? And I don't like to shill it too much because it feels kind of yucky, but I have been doing quite a few escrow deals for people that have been selling their collectibles. And once again, I'm not here to judge anyone's collecting journey. Whatever you bought at, whatever you sold at, and whatever the reason you're selling for is really not my business. But a lot of people have had a lot of really good opportunities to pick up some pretty incredible deals. I've facilitated quite a few escrow deals for people over the last week or so. And I've seen a lot of people picking up grails, whether it be Waltz or Todds or anything like that. So, if you're in the market, you can always reach out to me. I can connect you with some people that are looking to buy. Like I said, I don't go out of my way to kind of promote it too much, but I'm also seeing people tagging me still in Twitter to this day where they're getting scammed because they're not using escrows. And, it sucks. I feel for people. I had someone tag me earlier today on something, and, I feel for people. I always recommend using escrow. Yeah, it might cost you a little bit more money, but if you're saving like close to 50% on buying a collectible, is paying a few extra dollars for an escrow really the end of the world? And then you go at it alone and then you lose everything. So, not to judge anyone. I mean, people make mistakes or they just don't know better. But, if you're looking for a deal on something, let me know, and I could probably help you find someone that is selling it and go from there. Because, just be careful, guys. If you're going to be trading off app, there's some good ways to do it, and there's a lot of sketchy ways to do it. So, even if you don't do it through me, reach out to me if you have any questions, because I would rather see you guys not get scammed over that. So, Johan says, still bullish on the Omi token. Heard buybacks are not coming. I am sad as Omi is a bigger investment than NFTs. I have far more money invested in the Omi token than I do in the NFTs. And I did hear in the most recent AMA with Reese that it sounds like the buybacks have been paused indefinitely. I don't know how to say this without sounding pompous, but to me, buybacks were always kind of like a marketing gimmick. Not to say that they weren't going to have an impact on the token. They definitely were. I've run the numbers on it. I've done videos on it on my channel, but it was never the thing that I was like, it's going to be the thing that's going to make the Omi token super successful. The thing that makes the Omi token super successful, or will, I should say, make the Omi token super successful, is all of the prongs of attack they have to provide buy and burn pressure on the token. And what I mean by that is you will have staking as a form of utility. And when I say utility, it's because you're not earning APY. It's not a security. You're not investing to get more money. You're locking up liquidity to get access to futures. So you'll have staking. Staking will have a huge impact on buy pressure for the token. Because for those of you that do not know, any token that is locked up via staking is removed from the circulating supply. So if we have a $1 billion market cap and 1 billion tokens, that's a $1 token. But if we have a 1 billion market cap and we have 500 million tokens, that's a $2 token. So locking up liquidity means that you, even if you only still have the same amount invested in the space, because we're removing tokens from the circulating supply, even though it's only temporary, it increases the value of all subsequent and remaining tokens. So that's one pillar and aspect. The second pillar is OMI to NFT in the secondary market and buying collectibles directly from the market. That will burn a percent of the tokens directly from the circulating supply. So that's the second aspect of it, which is fantastic because that'll be happening every single time someone buys a collectible. The third thing will be using tokens to purchase non-specific IP, so whether it be land or other items in the VeVeverse. That will also directly burn tokens from the circulating supply. There'll also be third-party token utility and integration, which will likely also burn tokens from the circulating supply. So that's 4 things just off the top of my head. Now, obviously, buybacks is something that would have also contributed to removing tokens from the circulating supply to replenish the reserve. But the concern is, and the reason that it is likely not happening at this point, is they're concerned that it would classify the OMI token as a security. Because the OMI token has no other forms of utility, there's no argument against it. Can't prove that it's a utility token because the only utility would be the buybacks and would therefore classify it as a security. So I believe they're not doing that right now until they roll out the MCP and the OUP and can prove that the token is a utility token. And then once they can prove that it is a utility token, they'll likely resume buybacks. Even if they don't resume buybacks, yes, it's a blow to the project. It would have been nice to see buybacks taking place. But once again, the other 4 pillars that I've already mentioned are all still going to work in conjunction to ensure that the OMI token is deflationary and that tokens are removed from the circulating supply. So I'm not terribly concerned about the fact that it's not happening right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed on social media, but I've never been big on, hey, we burnt this many tokens today from the reserve wallet. Like, I've never really cared about that because I recognize that at the end of the day, because the reserve tokens are not in the circulating supply and it does not affect the price of the token, that Ecomi technically has the option to just remove those tokens from the reserve wallet. There's no reason to have to do buybacks in order to remove them. They could just say, hey, we're doing away with them all because it doesn't affect the price of the token. So it's not considered price manipulation or anything like that because it's not affecting the price of the token because it's not in the circulating supply. So they could conceivably do that. So I don't particularly lose too much sleep over it. I don't have enough information to make an informed opinion or decision about what the long-term outlook will look like. All I know is the OUP V1 and the interview that I did with Reese subsequently afterwards on my channel, which you guys can see. And we talk about all of these things for what's coming for the token. And I'm personally not super concerned about it. Booyah says, I have the gold skateboard. There's 18 total for sale. The skateboard's a few away from jumping 50,000 or something. Yeah, that's crazy. It's definitely more of a niche jumping up and grab the gold skateboard. But for those for those people that do, like, all it's going to take is Tony Hawk to buy one of those skateboards, and everyone's going to want to buy a skateboard, right? Or Magic Houston, or anyone that's big in the skate community. It's really only going to take some of these big famous people or influencers to buy some of these items, and it's really going to, send these collectibles off pretty hard. So, and then Dan Traubel says, did you listen to the recent interview explaining why buybacks aren't important compared to utility plus staking? Exactly. And I mean, I haven't seen the interview, but based on what I've just described, I'm assuming it's somewhat in line with what I've already said. And if it's not, obviously defer to Reese. I'm not the expert compared to him, but like I said, for what it's worth, I'm not concerned. But I mean, obviously, I'm not the moral arbiter of whether the project is successful or not. If you still have your concerns, you're entirely right to have them. It's just I'm not particularly concerned. Dane says secret rare comic editions on market are scary low. Quite a few under 30 on the market. I mean, she's crazy ability to run quick. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see that. I think what other people forget too is that there is no utility for the comics yet. So we do know that the comics are going to be able to be displayed in the showroom at some point. So when that happens and you can display them in your showroom and do all that, like these comics are going to be primed to pump. Like I thought about selling my Amazing Spider-Man #1 secret rare comic like a month ago for 18,000, and I had it listed, and then I ended up delisting it. I was like, no, I'm not going to sell it. It's down at like $11,000 right now, but once you're able to, like, there's only 30 of them listed in the market. Like once you're able to display them in your showrooms, and people are able to prominently display in your showrooms different things, like it's going to be nuts. So I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of the comics are going to fly when that happens. So it's pretty exciting. DW says Secret Rare Spider-Man. I'm assuming it's pumping based on that. So a lot of the collectibles are pumping right now, which is really exciting to see. I'm pretty happy to see that we're starting to see a recovery in the marketplace. It looks like the partner statue's back up to 25K from the low of about 21K that it was at. We have, I'm just looking at the market right now. Steamboat Willie's up at 3.6, and it was down at 2.9, so it's recovering a bit. We have collectibles like Todd McFarlane Batman, which is at 7.1K, and it was down at 6K the other day. So we're definitely starting to see some recoveries in the space. We have R2D2 at 5.3K. It was down at 4K the other day. Superman is 3.4K, and it was like 2.7 or 2.5 even the other day. Eduardo Rizzo Batman, which is actually something that I was loading up on the other day, was at 10K, and it's at 14.2K. So, we're seeing a lot of these collectibles starting to recover, which is really nice to see. So yeah, it's good to see. Now, could they dip back down again? Yeah, it's definitely possible. But either way, it's still nice to see the recovery. Booyah says, never be ashamed to take profits. You can always buy the dip later. Exactly. And, and especially if you're taking profit, if it's profit and then it pumps afterwards, like you made money. It is what it is. Like you're never likely going to be able to sell it the top because top is relative. Like you might sell it the local top, but if it pumps again further, like you're still going to be upset, right? So if you're happy with taking profit at a certain point, take that profit and just don't look back. So Taxi Corp says, hey, Foster, does VeVe have a legal or moral duty of care towards only investors as in the stock market? No, not currently at this time. It does not. Moral duty of care, I think if you've heard David Yu and Dan Carruthers speak about the project, I think there's definitely a moral duty of care there, but it's not on a legal basis. It's just on the fact that they're collectors and they want this app to succeed. So that is kind of the morality behind it. But legally, no, they don't. It's not, unless the only token becomes classified as a security and is protected under the Securities Commission and the Trades Acts. They don't have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. Crypto is kind of the Wild West. But you also have to remember that with all of the mainstream partnerships that they've developed, if they started screwing around their investors, I'm sure Disney and USPS and all of these other partners would have something to say about it. So I would imagine that with the amount of IP that they have and the time that they take to make sure that they do everything legally and regulatory compliant, they are doing those steps regardless, even though they're not obligated to do so, which is also one of the reasons that I invested in the project, is it was very evident to me that I invested in a team that I believe was going to get us to the goal. They're not the only team that could have created this project. Other people could have created the project, but they truly care about what they create. And having David Yu, Alfred Kahn, Jeremy Padower, and all of these big people supporting the project, Dan Chabel, Akil Patterson, all of these people supporting the project, it's very evident to me that there's not very much to worry about. It's really just the outlook and time frame that you're willing to look at it from. In the short term, are they ever going to get things done now? No, they're not. We know that they're terrible with time frames, and that's just something that you kind of learn to accept when you're investing in the project. But once again, Amazon wasn't profitable for the first couple of years, and if you invested in Amazon in the first 10 years, you really didn't make any money. But if you were invested in Amazon for this entire time, you'd be a multimillionaire in a very small investment. I put out a tweet yesterday about Bitcoin. Someone had 489 Bitcoin unlocked after 11.2 years, which was worth $20.3 million. Their investment back in 2010 would have been $5 or less because Bitcoin was worth under a penny back in 2010. So what's your horizon? What's your time frame? I'm okay if it takes 10 years for Omi to moon, and on year 10, it goes absolutely parabolic and hits $1. I'm okay with that because that'll still be 20 years earlier than I'm eligible to retire right now. So what's your outlook? What's your time frame, right? The problem with crypto is everyone wants everything right now. And that works for a lot of projects that don't operate within legal compliance because they just promise everything and then do it and don't care if they're going to get sued or anything after the fact. So they're just looking to make quick money and then be done with it. VeVe and Ecomi want to be around for many years, so they're taking the time to lay the foundation correctly now to ensure that there's no issues later on. And I'm okay with investing in a project like that, and that's why I invested so much money in this project because of that. So I did touch on the recent executive order. I think regulation in crypto is good, and I think it is necessary. I haven't read entirely about the executive order. I haven't been watching too many videos recently. So yeah. And Mark, yes, I am actually live. I decided to go live today. For those of you guys that don't know, Mark is a fellow content creator, so make sure you go check out his channel. He's a good lad and makes good content. So shout out to him. He's also a fellow Canadian. So Booyah says, Foster, thank you. You're one of the very few voices to admit that 10% is quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, it really is. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, and once again, my opinion, I think that they just put in MTL to placate users, realistically. Like when this project was created and everyone freaked out, and if someone's going to take a voice clip of this, make sure you include the entire thing. The project was originally not created with cash out function to fiat. That was never a part of the project. The project was always meant to be OMI to NFT. The only reason that we have a cash out function that is being generated right now is because they're trying to be as mainstream as they possibly can. So they're using that mainstream adoption because they're like, hey, people may not want to use crypto and they may not sure how to onboard on crypto. So we're giving you a fiat on-ramp and cash out so that people can utilize it. But it was never a part of the project. And so when they say that, everyone goes, oh my God, you were never supposed to be able to cash out of the project. This was a rug pull, it's a scam. That's not what they meant. They just meant they were never going to have fiat as a cash out. It was going to be crypto, OMI to NFT, that you could cash out in. And then of course you could take your OMI and exchange it and do whatever. So I'm happy that we have the MTL. I'm happy that more people are going to get rolled out access to the MTL. And once everyone has access to MTL, people will have one less thing to complain about. But at the end of the day, I will not be using MTL because I'm not going to give up 10% of the money that I've made. I also believe that in the future, it will be cheaper. I think that the price is more expensive right now because it's a global license and because the company that's facilitating it, BlueSnap, has no idea how successful VeVe is going to be with cash out. So if they're going to allocate their resources to the company, they're going to charge a high fee to make sure that they can make money. But once they realize that they're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of transactions a day, I do believe that they will lower the cost of the MTL and that VeVe will pass along that fee to users because they've already indicated that 10% doesn't go to them, it goes to the payment processing provider. So it's not like VeVe is fleecing people and just trying to make extra money off of them. It's going to the payment provider. So it's something to consider. Helen says, enjoy your holidays. You just can't get enough of the VeVe fan. Honestly, man, I can't. I love everyone here. And even people that I don't necessarily agree with all the time, it's still good to have conversations and challenge my thinking and, try and get different insights and input on the project and just understand as much of it as I can. I do have quite a bit of money invested in it. So I like to get educated on it as best as I can. Only Player One says, what's respectable escrow rate today? I guess every escrow has a different rate depending on what the collectible is. It depends what you're buying and selling. I generally try and cap my rate. If you're buying a collectible, I'm not going to charge you $1,000 to buy a $10,000 collectible, right? So it really depends on the collectible that you're buying, who you're buying it from, how much work is required, if there's any liability or issues. Are you selling both? Are you selling one? There's a lot of variables to it. You can reach out to me and I can definitely answer any questions that you may have if you're looking to buy something. But yeah, if someone's charging you, more than like a % or two to facilitate the escrow, I would definitely question if you could find a better rate elsewhere. But also, what are you paying for, right? I mean, there might be someone in the community that's willing to do escrow for free. There might be someone in the community that's willing to do escrow for 5%. Like it really depends what you're paying for and who you're getting it from and what you're buying and things like that. So yeah, you reach out to me if you have any questions and we can go on with that. And you said, what's the going rate to buy NFT with gems? Once again, it depends who's selling and what rate that they're selling it at. I mean, anyone can sell anything for any price. If someone wants to sell you something 10 cents on the dollar, I mean, they're crazy. But if they want to do it, they can do it. Generally the going rate's anywhere between like 0.55, 0.6, 0.65, depending on the day, depending on the markets, depending on how many people are selling. Yeah, it really depends. If you have any questions, I don't want to focus too much on it in this video, but you can reach out to me on Twitter at Foster Hilt, and I'll speak with you about that. That's not a problem. Junior Sambino says, why/how would you burn a collectible? Maybe I misheard. So that was just an option that they were talking about. David, you brought it up. So basically creating a digital black hole and burning a collectible that you own. And I guess the reason that you would want to do it is to create scarcity in the market. So let's say we'll take Secret Rare Spider-Man as an example, the Ultimate Animated that has 1,000 editions because it's got a nice round number. If you own 300 of them, so you own 30% of the supply, and you burn half of them, so now there's 15% of them gone. There's only 850 of them that exist. Each subsequent one becomes more rare relative to the others because there's less of them available. Would you ever want to do? I mean, I'm personally not going to burn any of my collectibles. I don't see the appeal to it. But I think where it really comes in is like common collectibles and stuff that are worth like $7. If you picked up like 100 of them, and you know a couple of people that did, and everyone burns half of them that they own, you could make them more valuable as a byproduct. So that might be the reason why you would do it. But until they add in, what incentives they will give, I'm sure there'll be an incentive in regards to master collector points as well. They'll probably give you a reward for burning. So once we see what that is, then we can make a better informed decision. I'll probably make a video on it when that happens. But right now, I can't think of any reason why I would burn any of my collectibles. That's just literally lighting money on fire. And yeah, not interested in doing that. So Dan Chabelle says, when it comes to Omi, Foster is the coin. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Definitely pride myself on educating myself as much as I can on the Omi token. The NFTs, I'm fairly knowledgeable about as well, but there's also a ton of people in the community that are super knowledgeable and are likely more well versed in the the specific ins and outs of the collectibles, especially comic books. I doing my best to learn more and more about them each and every day, but there's just so much to learn. But yeah, when it comes to the token, definitely done my research and feel pretty confident in it. Johan says, "Thank you for your answer. Will you be there at the 22% party in Puerto Vallarta?" Hey, that'd be pretty cool. I would definitely love to travel and take part in any celebrations. I know Randy was planning on having a 5 cent party, I think, in Long Island, and then talk to Andre Jick, and we may do something when Omi hits a certain price point in Las Vegas. So definitely some things that could happen, and would definitely be interested in checking them out. Johan says, and do you think you can make a retire on Omi video? Invest Answers makes good videos like that about other tokens. I definitely could, but I want to be careful about. I don't like to I like to tell people what I'm doing, and I like to tell people like what the numbers show. And I can definitely I feel like I've done some videos on like, hey, if this, and this happens, this is what could happen to the token. But I think at this point, it would honestly be doing people a disservice because it'd be speculating on things that we don't have information for. And I've already done it once. And you can find those videos on my channel, like, hey, if this catalyst happens, Omi could 90x. And I talk about the Hex token and talk about market caps and things of that nature. But at this point, without getting further information about Omi utility, I feel like there's no real point in doing it. I think we'd be better served to wait until we have OUP and some more information about staking and some other forms of utility, at which point I'll be more than happy to make a video and we'll get an idea of where we could actually see the token going based on actual investment numbers that make sense rather than just kind of, hey, I think this could happen, because that doesn't. I mean, I can make a video telling you Omi's going to go to $1 and you can retire off of it, but if me telling it is enough for you to do it, it's probably not the right reason to be investing, right? So let's wait until we have something a little more concrete, and then I would love to look into that. So Nagam says, what do you think it takes to break 1 cent? I think it takes me filling out my water. So give me 2 seconds, guys, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. One of the benefits of staying in a hotel is the sink's never too far away. All right, so Nagam, to answer your question, what do I think it would take for the token to break 1 cent? Some utility and a major exchange listing. So a Coinbase or a Binance listing could do it in and of itself, but it wouldn't be sustained buy pressure. It would pump, and then the whales would just sell through the buy pressure to take profit, and we'd probably localize somewhere around 0.006, 0.007, if we're lucky, 0.008 with a major exchange announcement. I think what will sustain us above a penny would be the OMI utility program with staking. I think once staking is announced, and we have people locking up tokens from liquidity, I think we'll see a pretty substantial pump because it doesn't take a lot of tokens being locked from liquidity to have an impact based on the amount of money that's invested. So the example that I used earlier with the 1 billion market cap with the 1 billion tokens and then cutting it in half and doubling the cost, very similar circumstance. I don't think it would take a ton to pump us above a penny. And then once we hit that, it's obviously into price discovery, and then where we go from there, it's really hard to say. For me, like my first take profit is probably 5 cents. So like it'll be great to hit these numbers, but until we hit 5 cents, like, I just don't really care, to be honest with you, as bad as that sounds. Like I'll take out my initial investment at 5 cents. My dollar cost average is 0.0052. So the logic behind that is when we hit 5 cents, I'll have 10x my investment, which means it will take 1/10 of my investment to break even. So then I'll still have 90% of my investment, and I can take profit with house money wherever it goes from there. So that's kind of my logic with that, but that is what I do think it will take for us to break 1 cent. Dan Schwabel says, reminder, VeVe has both the Disney and USPS licenses, one of the biggest companies in the world, and the government vetted VeVe for us. Exactly. And that's why I have so much confidence in the project, and that's why I don't worry about it too much, because there's nothing that I can say or do that the 100 lawyers at Disney didn't already do for me. And while VeVe and Ecomi may not be obligated to open up their books for us, they certainly would have to open it for them. And so that's why I'm not particularly concerned about it, because the fact that they're still partnered with the company tells me everything I need to know about what they believe will come out of this project. And if they have confidence in it, then I have confidence in it. A Dad's Life Show says, any thoughts on DC coming out with the NFTs on Immutable X? Do you think it will affect current DC collectibles or VeVe, or possibly have any interoperability? I saw that earlier today. I didn't realize it was coming out on Immutable X. I saw that they were coming out with like trading card NFTs, and if you bought the physical, you would get something digital. I didn't realize it was on Immutable X. I think anything that comes out on another blockchain that VeVe is already partnered with or has the FA of will only be positive for the space. I think a lot of people look at any time that any other project gets a license and assume that it's direct competition and therefore VeVe will struggle because of it. I think at the end of the day, any exposure to the NFT space is positive to VeVe, because at the end of the day, if you look up DC NFTs because you found them on Palm or Recur or Wax or wherever else, you're likely at some point going to find VeVe. And you're going to realize once you find VeVe, all of the cool collectibles that they have, and you're going to become an investor in the VeVe collectibles because of it. Similarly to how I started investing in physical collectibles because I found VeVe, people will find other NFTs and will invest in VeVe because of the other NFTs that they find. Daniel Lee's got the money bags. What's going on, Daniel Lee? Shout out to Daniel Lee, everyone, another content creator in the community. Absolutely fantastic. Got about, oh God, I don't even know, 8,000 or 9,000 subscribers now. He's been doing really well. Been making content even longer than I have. He's a true OG in the space, so make sure you guys check him out if you haven't already. Junior Sambino talking to Jan Chappell. Yeah, I've been able to listen to 2 hours so far. You guys are very generous with your time, a lot of valuable information. Yeah, I haven't listened to their live yet, but you guys should really check it out. Randy Chavez, Cavell Anderson, and Dan Chappell did a live for 4 hours the other day. And apparently it was an absolutely great conversation. Like I said, the Wi-Fi is so terrible here, and I haven't really had 4 hours to sit down on my phone where my wife wouldn't kill me. So I haven't checked that out yet, but I'm very excited to hear what they've had to talk about. Definitely a lot of a lot of knowledge there. So definitely, I'm sure worth a watch if you guys get a chance. Cyclical says, hello man, I got disabled after the Black Panther drop and then restricted after KYC. Oh no, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I know a lot of people got restricted after the Black Panther drop. They did like, and I'm not saying you are, but they did like a huge bot catching spree. I actually found out from a couple of people that I have behind the scenes that were in Telegram groups and things behind the scenes watching bot activity. That like tons of people got banned from that. So if you got caught up, kind of in the in between, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully they're able to get that figured out for you. Ginferno says, I think I'll probably make enough in the future on Omi that I'll probably never need to sell the collectibles. I like to cash out with the MTL. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing too. And that's why it's so important to be diversified. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I am invested in the NFTs and I'm invested in Omi. And when one's doing well, you know, I could sell some of that to invest in the other and then vice versa and work it up the entire way. So I think Omi will do well enough that for a lot of the collectibles, I probably won't have to sell them for a really long period of time. And I think you'll actually see that as the Omi price increases, less and less collectibles will be sold because people will have less and less reason to sell their collectibles because they'll have enough money that they won't care enough about selling their collectibles. And it's going to be really interesting to watch that happen because then as people make more and more money on collectibles, they're going to sell them for more and more Omi, which means they're going to be using Omi, which is going to burn more Omi and it's going to create a whole cycle. And it's going to be pretty awesome. So, Panini Girl says, or Panty Girl, sorry, says, I thought one of the greatest things about the buybacks is that it forces upward price movement in only even a bear market. Yes, so that would be one of the positive catalysts to buybacks if they were to occur. Is that in a bear market, even though collectibles are being purchased on the app, they would be forced to replenish the reserve wallet, meaning that they're taking tokens out of the circulating supply, and that money goes further when the token price is less because you are buying more tokens with less money. But that same effect will still happen with Omi to NFT Direct, burning Omi via buying land and non-specific IP, and using the token for third-party integration. So all of those things will still happen. But yes, you are correct. That is one of the benefits to it. So it could conceivably be a setback if it's determined conclusively that they're not able to do it. But I still think it's a responsible decision for them to not do it right now until they know for sure that they can do it. And I touched on that a little bit earlier in the live, just because you know, I would hate to see them being classified as a security because that could cause you know, a very significant delay in a lot of the utility that we'd see for the token. So Fake Al, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you got, like I said, that you got flagged. Definitely submitting a ticket through them and trying to figure out what they can do for you there. It sounds like you may not have heard back from them, so maybe writing to them just to see if you can get an update. That's probably your best bet. So, Jay said, I'm in a private Omi whale group. They talked about pre-pump for tomorrow's before Bitmart trading is available. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible that we'll see a pump before then, but and I don't want to say this in lives because I know people judge me, but like, not financial advice. Like, if you're gonna trade on information that you may or may not be getting from, you know, a private group or whatever the case may be, you know, I can't speak to it. I know for me, like, I'm happy holding my bags. It's possible that they may pump the price prior to pre-market trading and then look to create FOMO and then have people buy in and then sell off and, you know, take profits that way. But it's really hard to say for sure. Bitmart will definitely be a catalyst that will drive token price. So it's definitely a possibility, but I don't know. We'll see. And shout out to Ecomi for stopping by the stream. Thank you so much. Yes, couldn't stay away even when I was on holidays. You know, just on that grind. I'm doing the best that I can, trying to stay out of the sun, needing an excuse, and making a stream for the fam seemed like the logical thing to do. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that very much for stopping by. So thank you. Glenn says, I've seen in the community recently some people becoming bullish on MCP again. What are some of your feelings, thoughts around MCP? Great question, Glenn. I see MCP as definitely being a huge catalyst for the project. I've always looked at MCP as a whole as just being an added benefit or bonus, and I was pretty disappointed to see how many people were upset about not having more utility and stuff within the MCP. Like for me, like there are so many incentives to owning the collectibles outside of giving additional incentives to holding the collectibles. I mean, the sheer fact that 99% of them go up several hundred, if not several thousand% if you get them on drop, like, I mean, that in and of itself should be enough of an incentive to try and pick up collectibles. And then in the secondary market, you know, if you understand investing and you understand supply and demand, like you get into something early enough and you give it enough time with people that they're onboarding, most things should likely go up in value over time. I think it's awesome that they're creating an MCP program. And I think it will be beneficial to the community. Obviously, it sounds like the MCP is ready to go at this point. It sounds like, you know, they're probably just waiting on a couple of things to roll it out for sure. But I am excited to see the MCP once it is rolled out. Obviously, I've covered it a few times on my channel. I don't know that people should necessarily sell out of or buy into things just because of the points that it allots. Like I know a lot of people panic sold a lot of secret rare collectibles when they realized that, or secret rare comics when they realized it wasn't going to give you a lot of MC, a lot of points. And then they released the second rendition and were like, hey, we're going to give you 6 points. And then everyone FOMO'd into the collectibles, even if they weren't going to be worth that much. I think that that's the wrong way to go about MCP. I think that if you score something in the primary market, using its value relative to MCP may be beneficial for selling in the secondary market if you've already owned something on the drop. But overall, it's just another level at the end of the day. Like it's not something I put too much weight into. Like I haven't looked at the article since I did the video on it 2 months ago. I think it would be cool to have it just so that we can say that we have it and that we can show utility XYZ. But I really don't know that wagering points for, you know, an X chance to get into a drop is enough to incentivize people to change their entire collection. Like I'm not going to sell out of my golden moments to buy the equivalent dollar value in comic books just because I'm going to get more MCP points. Like to me, that's not the logical way to go about MCP. Obviously, you get points for completing sets, so they're obviously incentivizing set completion. So that will be a big thing as a part of the MCP. So maybe we'll see collectibles with sets being focused on, but for the most part, the MCP is just another level or layer to complement your collecting journey. But I don't think it should be the reason you collect. And I hope that that kind of gives perspective and helps out. Pablo says aloha. Aloha, Pablo. Pablo, good to see you. Jay says, I'm an early investor, bought Omi at 0.00035 for 120K USD. Sold a lot at 0.005 cents. Good for you, man. You know, if you sold it at 10x, it sounds like you're probably a millionaire now off of the project. So that's, you know, that's fantastic. Good for you. Good on you. That's incredible. I'm glad to hear that. Palace says steady grinding. Yeah, man. You know, like I said, like I know I hadn't been making a lot of videos coming into the trip. I had been pretty busy getting ready to do things, but like you said, I wanted to check in with everyone for a little bit and to see how everyone was doing. You know, with the exchange listing announcement, with a little bit of a market recovery that we're seeing, I'm seeing, you know, a little bit more positivity in the community, which is what I like to see. I hope everyone is, you know, doing their best to support one another. It is pretty disappointing to see how people will turn on one another. You know, when prices are down. Like I think that that's when we need to be supporting one another the most, rather than, you know, judging people or getting aggressive towards people. So yeah. And with that, I'll do a couple more minutes, guys, but then I'm going to wrap up for lunch. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here, so I'm going to go for a late lunch, but I'll do maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, and we'll go from there. Nagam says, I suspect all tokens bar Bitcoin will be classified as securities. Would you still hold your bags if this were the case? We would have to see. I mean, being classified as a security in and of itself is not necessarily an issue if you're following the regulations surrounding being classified as a security, right? Like if you're following the Securities Act and you're doing all that, it's not necessarily an issue. There's tons of people in the traditional stock market that have made a ton of money off of stocks and things that are classified as securities. That's not the issue in and of itself. The issue becomes if a company is not able to pivot and modify their business plan if they are classified as a security, and that's where the problem comes in. So we'll have to see. I know the team is doing their best to emphasize the fact that they are a utility token, but whether or not that will be enough moving forward, we won't know. Willow Kid says, "What's up, Foster? Much love, bro." Appreciate that, Willow Kid. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. Glenn says, "Thanks, Foster. Enjoy the rest of your time in Hawaii. Stay away from the shrimp." Yeah, for sure. Definitely will do that, my friend. William Peartree says, "Great stream, Foster. Thanks for your escrow support in the past week, too." Of course, William. I was glad I was able to help you out. Congratulations on the collectible that you purchased there. I was glad I was able to give you a hand. So congratulations, man. Junior Sambino says, "Why did you choose OMI versus S&P 500, for example, to invest in?" I never did any traditional investing before investing in the OMI token. I took out money and refinanced my house to buy a rental property. And then the prices were too high in the areas that I was looking in. So I had this money sitting on the side and found the project and invested in this project. So, I wish I had like a really fancy story for it, but I understood the long-term value proposition of OMI. I think it's a safe bet to say that you'll earn 6 to 10% in the S&P 500 if you invest, and you're willing to just sit there and hold, and you don't touch it, and you're fine with that long-term outlook. I was fine with that as well, but I'm also fairly confident that the OMI token will produce more than a 6 to 10% return for me in that period of time. So that's why. And I mean, Jay is a perfect example. He's in the chat right now. He invested at 0.00035 and sold at 0.005. So he made 1,000%, more than 1,000%. He made, a 10x on his investment in less than a year. You're not getting that in the S&P 500, and you're not getting it with the security that a project like Ecomi and VeVe offers. So could you, at the end of the day, invest in, a Shiba Inu or a Dogecoin and make a bunch of money if you're lucky? 100% you could. I'm not taking that away from anyone. But at the same time, I invested in this project because I believe at the very least, it will hit 10 cents in a couple years, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you invested at half a penny, that's a 20x. And I'm very confident. Like, that to me is a bear case scenario. So I'm not going to get that anywhere in the S&P 500, and that's why I invested in a project like this, because I understood the value proposition of the project and understood what it would mean to get in early. So I got in early, and I'm holding. I'm going to continue to hold until I have a reason not to. And you guys will be the first to know if they ever give me a reason to feel any differently. But right now, I just don't feel that way. Even with the fact that buybacks may or may not be happening, I never put a lot of stake in that regardless anyways. And you guys can kind of tell from the videos that I've made and stuff. It's never been a huge emphasis for me. I'll let you know if they can't do staking for some reason or OMI to NFT, then I'll be concerned. And I can be very honest with you guys about that. And I pride myself in trying to be as honest with you guys as I can. If that doesn't happen, I'll be concerned. But until that happens, I'm really not too worried. This is at the very least a small setback, if a setback at all. We don't need the reserve wallet. They can just remove the tokens from the reserve wallet anyways. So having a buyback would have been beneficial. But we're going to have a buyback in the essence of burning tokens directly from circulating supply regardless. So, yeah. And Donner, the reason that I don't eat shrimp is actually because I'm allergic. So I do eat other seafood, but I can't eat shrimp. So that's why he's making that joke. So Jay says, just relax and enjoy the ride. Whales are shaking the weekends out. Don't be the weekend at these low levels. I know some whale running a bot make millions extra tokens because of the weekends. Better to hodl at these levels. I think in a new bull run, we could see 2 to 5 cents bearish scenario. I agree as well, Jay. I think that 2 to 5 cents is a pretty fair assumption, assuming that we have some form of utility for the token by then, and we have some major exchange listings. I mean, I've said it once, and I'll say it a million times. If you've seen the Dogecoins and the Shibas of the world, they're literally predicated upon you buy this token and then tell all of your friends about it so that they all buy the token. And then they tell all their friends about it. And then by the time that happens, I can sell it in my position because enough people have bought it. We don't need that with OMI. If people don't buy the token, the price stays low. We burn more OMI through the utility that will be coming into the project, through the staking. And then as that happens, it raises the price again with new supports. And then we just go up, drop down, up, drop down, and we build newer, higher highs, and that's why I don't particularly worry about it. So that's how I envision it happening. If it doesn't happen that way, you guys can call me crazy, but that's my outlook for the next 6 to 12 months, and that's why I don't worry about these short-term price fluctuations. I remember we were up at 0.008 a month ago, and we went back down to 0.0035, and yeah, I wish I had sold at 0.008 and bought back in at 0.0035, but I didn't, and I didn't because my tokens are sitting somewhere and I don't look at them, and I don't watch the price daily because I don't worry about it, because once again, I'm not an investor for the short term. I'm a day trader. I'm an investor that's here for the long term. Taxi Corp says, Foster, your thoughts on any improvements on the current tokenomics, perhaps team and founder tokens being staked on exchanges to have the supply? Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought. I don't know if there's any regulations surrounding the team staking their tokens. I don't know if that would be an issue for any reason. I don't know why it would, but I could see them staking. I mean, at this point, they're not touching it anyways, so I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. If you're not going to sell your tokens for a year at least, which it seems like at least for 2 out of the 3 wallets, they haven't touched them at all. It's quite conceivable they will lock up the tokens. I mean, they may not tell us that because that could be considered a form of price manipulation. Because if they announced it and then they did it, it could conceivably raise the price quite a bit. So they obviously have to be careful about how they do it, but I don't see any reason as to why they couldn't do it. And no problem, Junior Sambino. I'm happy to have had this conversation. And with that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up there. Like I said, I just wanted to check in with everyone, see how everyone was doing, gauge the community sentiment, say hi to everyone, and let you guys know I'm still alive because I hadn't made a lot of content recently. So thank you all for stopping by for this impromptu stream on the middle of the day. Really appreciate everyone, and I hope everyone's feeling pretty good about things. Of course, if you're not, reach out to me on socials. I'll get back to you when I can. And we can talk about these things further. If you're in it for the long term, you're not concerned. And if you're not in it for the long term, then this probably wasn't the project to invest in the first place. So this is something to be mindful of. If you get the outlook and you get the time horizon, then you're very excited about all these things, and you realize just fine. William, Ginferno, Taxi Corp, thank you all, guys. Thank you all. It was nice to see you. Take care. I love you all. Peace.